Thank you very much. I'm Scott Chamberlain from Evernode. Really appreciate being able to talk to you guys here today. I'd like to pay my respects to Wave of Innovation, the guys, the team behind all of this, having traipsed across the world for the last 5 years for Ripple conferences in Amsterdam, Toronto, San Francisco, London. It is such a pleasure to be able to come to an XRP themed conference here in Australia. Congratulations, guys, on organising this event. Evernode is a new project in the XRP ecosystem. Some of you will be aware of it, some of you won't. It's a really difficult project to explain because it's not like almost everything else out there. It is a way of creating bespoke blockchains from the internet. At the heart of Evernode is a piece of software, some hosting software that hosts run that divide the machine into slots. And those slots are available for rent from anyone around the world who can buy up the hosting slot and insert their code into it. What's unique about the hosting slot is it comes with a consensus engine, something that Richard Holland invented called HotPocket, which is inspired by the XRP Ledger's UNL consensus mechanism. And so as a developer, I can insert my code into multiple slots on multiple machines, and those machines run as a native operating environment, the consensus engine that stitches those different instances together into a mini blockchain. It's incredibly flexible, it's incredibly powerful. One of the benefits of that level of flexibility is your code can do together, all your instances can do whatever your code could have done as a single instance on a single machine. So it can perform computation, it can store data, it can dial out to external services, it can perform an Oracle function. We launched on the 15th of January. Evernode had two challenges, still has two challenges. The first challenge is that you need hosts, you need a network, it must exist. The second challenge is that network needs developers. In terms of the first challenge, having launched on the 15th of January, we now have 8,000, almost 500 hosts on our network running the Evernode hosting software. That is much faster growth than we expected. The reason for the growth is that hosts are rewarded. We use a piece of technology on the Zahao network called Hooks that many of you are aware of. Hooks is a light smart contract solution native to XRPL or Ripple D chains. We were unable to bring that technology to fruition on mainnet. It's on a side chain Zahao. Our token Evers exists inside that hook. The issuing account for Evers has been blackholed. No more Evers can be created, and all of the Evers are now distributed as rewards to hosts for being on the network. That simple incentive mechanism has resulted in a network almost overnight. The other thing that it's done is the hosts, we've had so many hosts that we've put too much of a burden on the public infrastructure that Vita Wind runs for submission nodes to the Zahao network. So to get your transaction into a blockchain, it has to be submitted to the canonical chain. And traditionally, Vita has provided that infrastructure. You guys, when you use the XRPL, it is highly likely that you're using Vita's free, publicly available infrastructure to submit your transactions. With 8,500 hosts, all of them submitting transactions to Zahao to claim their rewards, it was too much. And so our hosts have been excluded from the public infrastructure, meaning that they had to find a new way to submit their transactions to the Zahao network. That meant either running their own nodes or finding someone else's nodes that they could use. As a consequence of that, there's now almost 1,000, I think it's 970 nodes on the Zahao network, and that's in comparison to 650 odd on the XRP mainnet. That again is incentive. These guys, they've done it because they want access to the rewards and they need to do it. That makes Zahao quite a robust network, again, almost overnight. The other thing that was most gratifying is the emergence of a services market where in the Discord, the community Discord, people were offering for a fee to provide a Zahao node for people to submit their transactions to the Zahao network. So in contrast to everything in the XRP network having to be offered for free, in the Zahao network, we've now got a large number of our hosts are paying either in Evers or in ZAR for their transactions to be submitted by someone else's reliable node to the network. So it's this immediate growing ecosystem, which has been very encouraging. I would like to take this opportunity then to be a big shout out to the guys running the community Discord. There is a Discord. It's not run by Evernode Labs. It's run by interested members of the Evernode community, particularly FOX and Gadget. They're guys I've never met, but the community Discord has done such an amazing job of bringing people into the community, helping them set up their nodes, helping them set up their hosts, dealing with issues. You know, anyone can run a host, but you do need a minimum of technical expertise. And there's now a lot more people who know what a sudo command is than before Evernode launched. That's been fantastic. The second challenge that we have is devs, and that process we begin addressing this weekend. We have a codeathon that we are sponsoring as part of this event. We have 300,000 ZAR and 30,000 Evers up as prizes for developer teams to develop applications on the Evernode software. We're looking in 3 themes. One is Web3 games, the other is interoperability, and the final one is middleman be gone. And very quickly, the reason why we're looking at Web3 games is that functionality that Evernode has to be able to dial out to external services. You know, it can perform an Oracle function, allows it to do some nifty things with Web3 games, where the game can be on the device, an Evernode contract can be the witness of what's going on in the game, and then use its canonical truth of what's happened in the game to publish results to a layer 1 blockchain that can then perform as another potential loop of the game that you're playing in. In terms of interoperability, Zahao and the XRP Ledger, being based on the same code, have this function where you can have the same R address on each chain and the same keys for each R address. So you get cloned accounts and matching keys. And the way that Evernode functions, you can actually give control of those keys to an Evernode cluster. And that can be a decentralized way of making transactions happen on either chain. So a transaction could happen on the XRP ledger. The Evernode cluster could pick up the fact that that's happened, use its keys to then sign a transaction on the Zahao ledger that in turn might poke a hook on Zahao, a smart contract, and other transactions from that, or the reverse. A hook could fire on Zahao that causes a transaction that the Evernode cluster picks up, and as a consequence of that, makes a transaction happen on the XRP ledger. So it's a way of getting this really nifty interoperability between the 2 chains, and we're keen to see what use cases might come from that. The final one is middleman be gone. Because of Evernode's functionality, you can do things like, and we know, for example, that 2 of the projects in development for our codeathon, one of them is replacing booking.com with simply an Evernode cluster in the middle, so that the website functions exactly like booking.com, but what's running it is a decentralized application, not a centralized actor. And another one is a ride-sharing app that again replaces Uber with an Evernode cluster that functions and feels exactly like Uber, but it doesn't have Uber in the middle. And we think that there's an enormous number of use cases where you can replace websites. You know, that code-based middleman could potentially be replaced by a cluster run by a community. So excited to see what comes out of that. In terms of Evernode Labs itself, what I'd like to leave with for this very short talk is I hope that what we've done with Evernode serves as an example to others about the sorts of projects that you can now bring forward in this space. We have created a token, we have black holed that token, the available supply of that token is now wrapped up inside a smart contract. Functions very much like an ERC20 token. Because of that certainty that comes with how the token's now distributed, we found it a lot more easier to talk to exchanges and to get people on board for the project. It's not an IOU. It's not, Scott Chamberlain doesn't control the issue of Evers. It's controlled by a smart contract. And that little bit of incentive has been able to bind very quickly a community that's grown rapidly. And I think that is a model that many of us could look to in this space, because we haven't had that type of model available to us in the XRP ecosystem, because we've had access to be able to issue tokens, but all of those tokens are IOUs. We haven't had the smart contract functionality that goes with it, and now we do. And I think Evernode, so far, is a fairly good example of the sort of success you can get with that model. If any of you are developing on the XRP Ledger, we have the team from Jivo. Put your hand up, guys, who are here to assist with the codathon. Any technical queries, questions, any assistance you might need, those are the guys to talk to. Otherwise, I'll be walking around. I'd be delighted to have a chat to and meet you all. Thank you very much.